My name Yes.
Aloha.
Good morning.
Yes.
I'm Stardust.
And I'm MadKat Melody.
And you are tuned into Pragma Pod, the all things anime podcast, presented by Pragmatic Aleatory.
Yes.
Kawagishi Ogyo's Jinsei La Bonne Vie is a 10-volume light novel series that first began its run in 2012 under Japanese publisher Shogakukan's Gagabunko imprint. Bruh, why the fuck did I write this long-ass sentence? Sometime later, the light novel received a manga adaptation with an anime edition arriving shortly afterward. The anime, titled Jinsei Life Consulting, follows Akamatsu Yugi's journey as a newly life consultant in his school's journalism club, a decision that came about as a result of relentless teasing on his lack of social skills by his cousin Nikaido Ayaka, who also happens to be president of said club. Akamatsu is soon acquainted with fellow clubmate Suzuki Ikumi, no relation to the Japanese multinational corporation, Kujo Ufumi, no relation to the 1983 serial killer Saint Bernard, and Endo Lino, no relation to the inveterate band member of German activist digital hardcore group Atari Teenage Riot. The four club members attempt to address their problems and concerns of their fellow student body through their school's weekly newspaper advice column.
I have comments, by the way.
Shut up, woman.
Awesome. I missed those.
This is episode 8 of Pragma Pod. We will be discussing Jinsei Life Consulting. This was Stardust's pick. Stardust, do you want to take it away for comments?
Yes, we have some comments. These were found on YouTube because this series is available on YouTube except for episode 11. No one knows why. And I thought episode 11 would be, I don't know, like graphic or profane, but it wasn't any more so than the rest of the series. So that's a good question. I don't know why, but you can find episode 11 on Funimation or something.
So it's up there officially on YouTube.
Yeah, you can watch the whole episode.
On the Funimation channel?
Yeah.
Okay.
And YouTube.
Well, no, so...
I don't think it's official, no.
That's what I was getting at. Here at Pragmatic Aleatory, we don't condone watching anime illegally. Be like me and watch all of your anime completely legally. Go ahead, Stardust.
All right. So the first comment is from Rayer23. He says, or she, we're not sure. Am I the only one who enjoys it because it's free of a storyline? Because it's entertaining for me when it's free of a storyline and the story roam's free, but I'm not saying that I only like animes without a storyline.
Wow. How old is Rayer?
This comment is kind of like the series I felt.
They sound like a character from the series, I agree.
The continuous one says, bunk, skirts, swimsuits, and game shows equals great combo. All right. Nom Nom says, is it a murder mystery? Is it about the witch's cult? Is it a slice of life harem? Is it a harem romantic comedy? Who the hell knows? Seems accurate. All right. Donald Dump says, I did not make these things up. These are actual.
Which one of you motherfuckers is moving around binders?
Oh, sorry.
Come on, Cat Natty. The rules ain't changed.
You start again. You start again, Stardust. Sorry, I apologize.
Oh my god. Okay. So Donald Dump says, my grandma walked in and I didn't notice her, and she looked at what I was watching, and then I realized she was there, and I looked up at her, and she was like, "Child, the F are you watching?" My mom would have asked me.
That's a good warning to people who will watch the show. Your grandmothers won't understand.
We have 2 more comments. One is from Skitzer, who says, I cringed when she speaked English.
Ooh.
And then I cringed at this comment.
When he speaks English? I thought it was interesting. What was the second person?
Oh, the continuous one.
The continuous one. That was... I want to praise the continuous one for having a surprisingly brief review, as opposed to the first one, which was that one seemed kind of like the continuous one.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, there were no periods in any of this. I was like, perfect. That definitely seems like the anime we watched.
I have a similar experience to I don't remember what the Don Dump. What was the last one? Who had his grandmother walk in on him because I was with my mother-in-law and talking about how I needed to watch the show. And I think she heard, noises, some of the noises the girls make. And so she...
Do you not watch with headphones?
Well, when I want to watch it on the big TV, sometimes no.
Nah, that's on you, Cat Daddy. Everybody know to people that don't watch anime, it sounds like porn.
Well, what got
Yeah,
me is
it sounds
I
like
stopped.
something.
I stopped because I was like, because she has her own shows that she watches. I was like, you can watch whatever you want. She's like, no, you can watch whatever you want. What did she say? She said, I think she said like, oh, you're not watching porn. I know you want. No. And then she stopped and she's like, oh, and by the way, I don't care if you're watching porn. That's fine.
Like, thanks for your permission.
Just out on the big screen. If you're doing it like that, you might have a problem.
Or you're just really comfortable with.
Nah, you got a problem.
Well, I wasn't watching.
You're supposed to do that stuff.
I
in
was
secret
watching
and
this.
Be really
so
ashamed.
was I watching porn?
Well, here's the thing about animes like this is I feel like sometimes they have like a uncut version on the DVD. You know,
Oh.
I remember I watched Prison School. It was my buddy said that it was his favorite anime, and I decided to check it out. And normally I would not really care for something that's like, I guess, this type of material, but I laughed harder than I've ever laughed watching any anime. And it was some points where I'm like, okay, they're going too far, but it was still funny. So I was like, nah, whatever. So I got to the end, and then there was an additional like OVA episode, and I was like, oh, I need more. I'm going to watch this because it's so funny. I click on it, and it's uncensored, so they just butt naked. And I was like, yeah, let's go ahead and click this off. Honestly, I don't think Jinsei would.
No,
It's
I
like an
don't.
uncut DVD, but I'm sure they got some nudie figurines going around because this just seems like that
Definitely.
type of
Actually,
show.
there was one more comment, you guys,
Oh.
and you'll have to give me your input. So, what's his name? Goku Sun Fan. I'm not really sure.
Just commit to
Is it
one.
like
Sun fan is the same
PHAN?
word.
Oh,
No, I
that's
mean,
assertive.
I'm trying to.
Just fucking
Okay.
commit.
What I'm
All
saying.
right.
You're
all
more
right,
powerful
all
than
right.
he is.
Goku San fan says Ikumi is best waifu. So is Ikumi best waifu? I may not know exactly what makes a good waifu. But if I had to make someone my waifu, maybe it would be Fumi. I think that she is the least extreme.
That's the blonde-haired one,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
Also, I'd like to cosplay as her one day, maybe. Pick your best waifu.
I'm not with that, so I'm gonna opt out this question.
Okay, so
MadKat, you can go ahead.
Kip will not take a waifu. He has made other arrangements with
Oh, yeah, no,
bots.
I'm not. That's not. That's not my culture. Sorry.
His waifu's name is Craig.
I feel the need to clarify now. She's
no,
talking
just
about
let
the
Craig
recording
go.
bot we use
Just
for
under the
Discord.
radar, like people are gonna be like, "Who's Craig?"
They've grown rather close in these past few weeks.
So if
Anyways, go
I
ahead.
was just gonna say, if you're thinking strategically about this question, okay, because the most obvious like lame answer is Reno, right? It's the right answer because it's the most respectable thing to be a psychosexual. Is that a term? People that there's a term for people that are like attracted to intelligence, right? Even though her intelligence is kind of the base, like just knowledge intelligence, but thinking strategically.
Okay.
I didn't know there was a term for that. That's interesting.
Well, according to Sandra Bullock, there's. But Cowrie is that is the most powerful, like strong and like determined character. Wouldn't that be someone you want as your and as a caveat, like I've been told recently that some people look at this question as like, who's the cutest, which is never how I saw the question. I saw the question as who would be the best person to spend the rest of your life with, like a wife, right?
Oh. Wife can't be the cutest?
Well, see, here's the thing.
Of course not.
Here's the thing. Cute, there's different kinds of cute, right? There's a physical, like look, visual cute, and then there's like an acting, like the way they talk and the way they think,
personality,
cute, right? And I think Fumi, in the way she acts and talks, is the cutest because she's kind of naive and hopeful and positive, but also bubbly and soft, right?
Yeah, I like her.
Soft isn't always what you want in a wife, though, right?
What? No, I think everybody wants that in a wife, actually.
I mean, you want someone strong, is what I'm saying.
She's talking about something else. I think everybody has different things that they want in their partner.
but a wife is a partner. And a partner you want strength, right?
Some people don't. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Okay.
Some people want some Some people want submissiveness.
Right. Well, no.
So everybody wants something different.
you are right that some people want.
Actually, I talk to a lot of guys that want submissiveness.
You were right in your wife. Some people want.
Not my wife. Let's make that clear.
Some people
No.
I don't
He's with Craig now.
Some people want submission, but to me,
You're so annoying, bro. You're so annoying. I'm just.
Are you talking to Craig?
No, she know who I'm talking to. We're laughing in the background. Anyways, go ahead, Matt.
Well, no, I feel like the road I was going down with my thought would have been offensive to certain people, so I'm good.
All right.
I mean, I think you're
Okay.
offensive to certain people.
Wait.
Which makes them great.
I'll tell you what. You can say it, and then if it's bad, I'll cut it out.
Well, I was just going to say
Because I'm gonna do it anyway.
No, we can move on. What's the next question?
No, I want to know your thought.
No, because I was gonna say like some people want submissive.
Coal mining.
Some people want.
What's wrong with you?
Sorry.
Oh my god. Let him finish.
No, that's the inside joke. You remember?
Yeah, no,
you
I know.
remember that.
I remember. I laughed.
We keep cutting you off, especially me. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say yes. You're right. Some people want like a sub, right? Forever and ever, right?
Yeah.
But to me, when you're asking for that, it would make sense to me that someone who wants that isn't necessarily asking for the same kind of partner. They think they have all their stuff together. They can handle things. They don't need somebody to help them handle things. They want someone to, carry, their dinner on a plate on their back and, crawl to them or something, as opposed to someone.
Specific.
I think that's one way to look at it. I think there's a lot of ways you can look at it. My attempt of understanding of that typical want is not necessarily doesn't correlate to advocation of it. Just put it that way. But go ahead.
Doesn't correlate to advocation?
Yes.
Like, what do you mean?
I'm not advocating for submissive women.
Okay, I thought you were saying.
I just want to be clear.
Okay.
Right? I'm just saying that's an option that a lot of people want. Right. But I don't want me personally. No, I don't want a woman that walks in my shadow.
Like I said, when I think of the term waifu, I guess I've been wrong all this time. But I think of like
you have.
I think of the whole package. Someone who can be at everything.
Somebody get this man a podium. Seriously, you're a wonderful human being. Just thought you should know.
Well, no, I was wrong this whole time, so I can't.
That's what makes you a wonderful human being.
Because I'm
That's
wrong.
what makes you a Fox News anchor. I said it.
No one deserves that, Kip. No one deserves that.
I'm about to cut that out too.
No way. Not this time.
What do you mean you don't like Trump? So you looked at waifu as just a soulmate. That's literally how you looked at the
person
term.
who would be best. They might be able to. Well, I'm not going to go into the list, but the person that can have the most, benefits down the line.
And who would that be for you?
Well, like the president, their villain, because she's basically as powerful as all of them combined. That's why it was such a tough fight against her, right?
Yeah, that's true. It was.
She was smart. She's confident. She's pretty. They made a mention to how cute she is, even though I thought it was hilarious because there's one thing where it's like, oh, we're going to have people vote, for who's cute. And one girl's like, oh, clearly you have an advantage. And I'm like, all you girls look the same except for your hair.
Except for your hair.
I don't think they all look the same.
Well, obviously, there's slight differences, but
they're all cute, essentially, yes.
Yeah, they are all designed to be a certain kind of cute, like in a factory.
Also, by the way, MadKat, I did look up that word you mentioned. People who are attracted to highly intelligent people. You're right, that is a word.
What is it called? I know I said it wrong.
I might have to think of how to pronounce it, but it's SAPIO, so it could be sapiosexuality.
Sapio, yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, sapio.
Apparently, it's a
like
newer
sapiens.
word that has become more popular in recent years. If who's your favorite character?
Did you use that inflection to say you're secretly using character as waifu to like trick me or something?
I don't know. I don't see this answer the question.
I feel like I'm going to, I guess, pull back the curtain early, but I didn't like this show, so
No!
You can still have a least hated character.
it would be Reno. And the reason why it's Reno 911 is because she was the only thing that made the show interesting. Specifically, her answers always typically gave me a term that I was unfamiliar with. So I would just Google it. Then I would read on Wikipedia about it. That's literally the only reason why it would be Reno.
All right. I'll take it. Our main character, Yuki, also picked Reno. He is devoid of personality. But I think they could be together. Sure, why not?
I thought it was interesting that I felt like they lampshaded, but it's probably more than that. His lack of personality, because they kept like making fun of him for it. But it also seemed like it was very hard coded into the show.
Yeah.
Like, do you think it was just so that people can imagine themselves in his position?
No.
Or do you think, because I felt like I could relate to not wanting to say certain things. He was kind of like boxed in sometimes. He felt like, oh, if I go this way, that's a bad idea. If I go this other way, that's a bad idea. So I'm just not going to go anyway.
Yeah, but I think also he just didn't have opinions of his own. That's also part of the problem.
I was going to highlight, I think her name was Tomoko, the teacher.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because possibly my favorite scene in the show, I may change this later. I came into the show thinking they were going to be solving problems, right?
I think we all did.
And the teacher had this issue where, with people and talking, oh, I can't be a teacher anymore, blah, blah. And Reno had this other self that she would, like a childlike self when they hypnotized her, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought it was clever bringing the childlike self back to give Tomoko someone she could nurture. And then she felt more powerful. Oh, because I can help somebody. This person just wants to snuggle and be, babied or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that little exchange between these two fractured souls was nice. And the kind of thing, albeit kind of unbelievable, but the kind of thing I wanted to see from the show. And I appreciated seeing someone seemingly get better than, when they first, because a lot of times somebody would ask them questions and they'd be like, well, why don't you just go put your head in a sink or something? And you'd get a big laugh out of it. And it's like, are they really helping anybody? But it felt like there was care taken towards the teacher.
I think they definitely did help a lot of people in the show.
Yeah.
I think it was typically just reserved for the last, the ending transitional cue card. But I think the advice that they gave on the cue card is usually solid at the very end.
Yeah, at the end, I think you're right. But initially, their ideas were terrible.
Yeah, initially it's always like that's the bit. It's like they all say stuff that
I wish I had written down specifically what the answers to their questions were. Because sometimes I would feel like, oh, I'd be so excited because they'd come up with all these questions or answers. And I'd think, oh, there's some interesting ideas there. And then the final decision seems so boring compared to the actual work that I'd want. Not always. But, I wanted to see stuff that I could use in my life, and I didn't see that.
I feel like the final decisions were almost always sound advice.
Yeah, I think so too. I actually screenshot some of their advice that I was going to ask.
Oh, yes!
Well, hold on, big fella. Hold on, big fella. Who's your favorite character?
Oh, I kind of like the grandpa. He was very out of nowhere to me. If he had just turned into the main character, I would just gone with it. I'd be like, okay. It was suddenly we were in a Dragon Ball movie or something. I was like, is this real? Is he for real?
That's another thing. I remember, in the intro, they have, all these cute girls or whatever and the main character and blah, blah, blah. And then there's a couple scenes with these other guys that are like you said, like a Dragon Ball or other type of scene. And for the first couple episodes, I was like, what is the deal with these guys? And I was so excited to see other kinds of characters. I wanted to just random, every episode to just be a random new genre, but it didn't quite go as crazy as, it hinted at something crazier. And it left me wanting it.
Okay, so I screenshot some of the advice, the questions they asked. And I thought I would ask you guys the same questions.
That's a good idea. I don't suppose you screenshotted also the answers, did you?
Yeah, a lot of them I did not everything.
Oh, okay, awesome. I'm excited.
Oh yeah, I was out here working for one of the worst anime.
What? Man, what are you talking about? What are you talking about, man?
I don't know why I said it like that. That was so weird. Anime.
Yeah,
I always say it that way.
Anime.
I say anime. Anime.
Yeah, you do. You always say that.
I'm saying it normal. Anime.
No, I like the way you say it.
Anime. How would you say it?
Well, it depends if I'm saying it in Japanese or English.
Oh, so if you were saying it in Japanese, you would say ah.
Oh yeah, for sure I would. Anime.
And if you were saying it in English, you would say eh.
Yeah, I say it. If I'm speaking Japanese, then of course I would say anime. Anime ga anime. But if I'm speaking English, then I would just say anime.
Yeah, so how am I saying it?
I think you pronounce it correctly. But I think because it's in English.
Yeah, I know.
That's why I like it. That's why it's interesting. I don't normally hear it that way.
What are you on about?
Anime.
Right? How do you
Anyways,
say it?
let's get back to
anime.
He says
I don't
anime.
know.
He says anime. I've heard him say anime.
I believe him.
Well, let's get back to anime. Come here, anime. Get over here.
Okay, so this is not one of the questions, but this is a thing I was going to ask you guys because they did comment on it. They were talking about blood types, and of course, Reno is totally against it. She's like, it's unscientific, and Fumi's like, but it makes people happy, and yeah. I think it's interesting that Japanese people believe in blood types. And first of all, do you guys know your blood type? And do you think there's any basis in truth to this idea that blood types can tell your personality?
I don't even know my parents.
All right.
So I knew my stepdad's was an O for some reason, O positive. I don't know why I knew his, but
That's so random. I'm sorry. You got a wife and a kid and a mom and shit. You're like, well, my stepdad. The one motherfucker that's not related to you by blood.
That is really interesting,
here's the
actually.
thing. You can be related to somebody, and that doesn't mean you're going to have the same blood type. So I don't know how blood types, like what it is. Like I've read, when I'm donating blood, sometimes they have the little pamphlets, and it's like, oh, what does your blood type, mean? And I've read them, and I can't remember like one word I've read from. I had no idea what the science said. So for me, if it's like, first of all, if it's like genetic, it's not genetic, right? If it was genetic, it would make sense to me. It would be like, oh yeah, maybe it could be a determiner of certain personality type factors. But since it's not that, I have no. It's kind of like, if you ask like an astrophysicist, like, are there aliens? And he kind of has to say like, well, I have no personal proof or evidence to believe that these, things exist. So that's what I'd have to say is like anything that people try to guess what that means, they don't know, right? Like if they're some kind of blood doctor, I don't hear a lot of blood doctors, giving advice on how you should live your life based on your.
Are you fiddling with something?
Sorry, there's a term for blood. What do you call a blood
He's a
doctor?
hematologist.
Hematologist.
Mhm.
Hematologist. I was going to get that right.
Come on, that was a good one. That was a good one.
What did he say? I didn't hear what he said.
I said blade.
Oh.
Or what was his? The guy he looked up to. What was his name?
Whistler.
What? Yeah. I was gonna say Wesker. Sorry, that's Resident Evil.
I thought you said wet. Wet whistle.
Awkward. Anyways, go ahead.
So you don't think hematologists are giving out life advice based on blood types?
Right. Yeah. Right. Sounds like a zodiac. What do they call that?
Ooh,
astrology.
I thought about saying it, but then I know somebody's gonna feel this type of way potentially, so I held.
Well, you can have them come talk to me.
I love astrology, but
Okay,
I don't.
Go ahead.
I love astrology, and I feel like people that don't understand astrology like to talk about astrology, but you have to get into the science of it to really understand how in depth it is. Most people only know their sun sign, and that's not enough. Anyway, but like blood type is just
with your dumbass MadKat. Go ahead.
But so blood type
is
interesting, and I haven't done enough research into it, of course. But like I don't even know my blood type, and most Americans don't. But one day I'll ask. But anyway, so blood types they're just one type, right? So I don't think it makes as much sense as astrology because like. Even though people think astrology is just one sign, it's made up of a multitude of different aspects and different planets in your birth chart when you were born, where each planet was when you were born in your specific time and your specific place. Multiple planets and aspects. But blood type is just one thing. Like it's A, B, C, right? Or not A, B, C. A, B, B, O. Anyway, so I just feel like it's not. There's not that many types, so that seems less.
But some people would say there's only two types of people in the world. People who like Oreos and people who don't. You can you can make any kind of division. like atoms, right? You look at atoms, there's positive now I'm gonna sound stupid. There's electrons and neutrons and protons, right? And they're just waves of energy, but and there's positive energy and negative energy, but if you configure all those things in a certain way, it creates a completely different subatomic particle, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you configure like computers, ones and zeros, right? Mm-hmm. You only have two states of being. You have a 1 and a 0, but you can create everything you see on your computer screen. So the number of things, like, that sounds like a limiter where people are like, well, I know there's 8 billion people on the planet and there's only 5 blood types, so those numbers don't match up. But maybe they do. That's what I'm saying. I don't know any of the science, so I can't go by it. But I will say this, because Kip said, "Oh, that's so random. This guy's not even he said a word." And
not related.
Shout out to all the stepfathers. I'm not disrespecting you, stepfathers. More than likely, I'm going to be one.
People should find out who your O's are, because O's are universal donors, whereas I don't know what I am, because I'd like to be an AB. So whenever I try to remember and I think of AB, I'm like, maybe I'm not. Maybe I just wanted to be, because ABs are universal receivers, right?
Okay.
So just something to think about. People should, ask around. And then it might save your life to know, oh, that guy, he's an AB.
Okay. I mean...
I realize we got off topic, probably. The question was... Wait, what was the question?
You sound like me.
All right. So yeah, blood types, is it possible, is it not possible? Honestly, I have no idea. I think it's unlikely.
Anything's possible.
Yeah, I think it's unlikely that I don't think it explains enough. But there could be tendencies.
Yeah, I don't have a horse in this race.
What's your blood type, Kip?
I don't know.
Most Americans don't know.
Honestly, I don't think most Japanese know. I just think they have a fascination with it. So yeah, no, I don't know. I don't have any knowledge on blood types or any of that. So there's no point in me talking.
All right. So I got one of the columns that the characters answered, and I will pose the same question to you guys. Let's see. Second year Inoue Koichi says, I suck at my job. I work part-time at a convenience store and my manager's always chiding me for my screw-ups on the job. I'm doing the best that I can, but it may not be good enough. I've microwaved non-microwavable food, left plastic bottles in the wrong place, and so on. I'm worried that I won't be able to make it in the real world. Also, I apparently come off as unmotivated, so I would get scolded even more when I repeated mistakes. Even if I can improve my dexterity, I at least want to become better at making a good impression. What should I do? Basically, this guy is a kind of bumbling sucker. And he got at his job at the convenience store.
I remember my first thought when I heard that in the show was that, like, to me, a convenience store is part of real life,
Yeah.
So he's like, oh, but I don't think I'll be able to make it in the real world. But, like, you're in the real world. That's, to me. Now, I know that's not, like, the most prestigious or, like, high-paying job you could possibly get. But, some people should, I've known people that were proud of their convenience store jobs. Now, the second part of that is because some of it is like, oh, I can't stock right, or I can't do this right. And to me, that's like, if you want to and you practice at it, you're paying attention, you'll get better over time. But the thing about people, he's like, oh, I come off unmotivated. I come off as like this slacker dude that nobody likes. I think a lot of that has to do with active listening and like actually listening and asking people questions. I think it goes a long way, asking questions and like listening properly to make people think, oh, this guy's interested in me. I think I'm very good at making people think I'm interested in them,
Because you are.
Well, yeah, I am.
Yeah,
but
I
think, what I do a lot of the time is I think about something in my life that not relates to them, but that I can use, like something in their life that I can use in my life, So sometimes I'll see a movie or something that somebody, I'll be sitting there and somebody else wants to watch this show or movie and I don't really want to watch it. And so I'll start to think like, oh, if I was trying to make a game out of this show, because I've seen people try to make games out of movies and all this stuff, like this would be harder because it's easy to make an action movie into a game. And so that kind of mental challenge makes me more remember what I'm watching, because I'm trying to think, ooh, what kinds of things can I pick out? If I think about something, well, that's what I do. I don't expect everybody else to have a hobby that relates to literally everything in the world, like games do. But like I said, if you can listen, if you can ask questions pertinent to somebody, I have a friend that, when he went to his new job down in Miami, he always had a notebook in his pocket. And when he met new people, he would ask them like who their kids were, who their wife was, and how they're doing, what they like to do. And he would write it all down. So he's got a page for each of his coworkers, because people care about that kind of stuff when you come back to work. And it's like, oh, how are your kids doing? I always have that thing where I can't remember.
So wait, every single person, he like took a second after he asked them and like took notes like a
Right. He'll
reporter?
go meet somebody. He plans his meeting. So he'll go meet somebody. Oh, hey, Jim, how you doing? And he gets the information. Hey, yeah, I'll see you later. And then he writes down all the information so that he, because he doesn't, and he always says he doesn't care about people, right? He dealt with anxiety, and it was so hilarious when he was describing to me his anxiety, because it would be right before he went into like a meeting to like give a speech or give a presentation to somebody on PowerPoint or something, and he would get these like panic attacks. And he told himself, which I thought was funny, he told himself, like, it doesn't make any sense that I would be getting these panic attacks because I don't care about people enough to be worried about this presentation, which is how he knew, like, there must have been something chemically going on,
Yeah.
I thought that was an interesting explanation. But basically, he's putting in, like, an analytical approach to socializing with people that I think has worked amazingly. You know what else he also did? He did the whole thing where you get, like, a fashion person to redo your whole wardrobe because people came to him and they're like, hey, you gotta dress better, but he's like, I don't know how to dress, so he just gave it to somebody else to do for him.
I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, and he
takes all the fun out of it, but yeah,
he looks
that's
it's
awesome.
not the fun to him, it's about looking professional when he goes to work, but he looks so much better when he comes over now, and his hair is and he's wearing like cardigans. Is that what it's called when it's like a sweater? No, that's like a button down. What is that term? I mean, no, what's it called? Like Doug, the cartoon, he had the green thing.
Sweater vest? Anyway, so basically he leveled up his fashion by giving away to someone. So basically he like analyzed his whole life and like was like, hey, how can I make
right, but
this
also
seamless?
he's a self-proclaimed, like, doesn't care what other people kind of guy, but he can still do the right things to make other people
feel appreciated.
You're right, exactly. And so that's a skill you can also practice, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, he's obviously suffering from something. Sounds like some kind of social anxiety, but
like my friend or the show guy?
Unfortunately, your friend, maybe a little touch of performance anxiety as well, but definitely some kind of social. But it's hard to say because if he's he says he doesn't care, but it could be there's something going on there.
It's an interesting case, but he says he's better now. He's on drugs,
Like, he's on the right drug, like prescribed. Yeah.
he's on.
You just need to say that. You
prescribed drugs.
Because otherwise, it's like, oh, he's just doing.
Yeah, I was like, well, okay, all right. So yeah, don't do. But if you do suffer from any anxiety disorders, medicine can help.
Are actually prescribed by doctors sometimes.
So we're not going to talk about this. I don't want to get flagged by some algorithm.
Oh, right. I take back everything I said.
All right. So...
And the algorithm's like, okay.
Yeah, did you have a advice?
Mate, I don't even.
Guy who's bad at his job.
It was the grocery store dude, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Your microwave's not microwavable food and such.
There's a lot of things to consider. I worked at a grocery store. It sucked. A lot of times, from my experience, being hired and seeing other people hired, in my experience, you don't get properly trained for most things. You kind of get told how to do like one thing, and then you just get thrown to the wolves. It's just like, well, figure it out. You're going to keep messing up and just figure it out. But we're also going to keep yelling at you while you're trying to figure it out.
Yes, they will.
You're 100% correct.
So it's not a very encouraging environment. If he has, in this anime, if he was doing it for a long period of time and he kept messing up on everything, there could be a bit more at play there. I remember I did construction, and there was a guy that worked with us, and he had no business being in construction. And I brought this to the attention of the head foreman multiple times because the guy was mentally challenged. And the severity of mental impairments differs per person, right? Not everybody's on the same level, but he was definitely mentally challenged.
Like in a way that impacted his physical ability to construct?
His cognitive thinking ability, I'm just letting somebody ride past. It wasn't me though. His thinking ability, it was so severe to the point where his speech was extremely delayed and slowed. I have mentally challenged people in my family, like a good amount. I feel like I'm pretty adjusted to it. So I just would tell the foreman, like, this should be illegal. You know what I mean? Like, I'm for mentally challenged people being properly integrated into society and having opportunities, but there are some things that I just don't think that they should do. And construction is one of them. And my boss was like, well, you know how the system is. It is what it is. And I'll explain that off the record. But anyways, he had no business being in that job. And if you are Oh, if you just keep messing up something over and over, you mentally challenged. That's not what I'm saying. But if it's been like 2 years you've been working at this store and you still can't do anything right, then you might have a mental impairment. It just might not be as severe.
So like maybe it's not like the right fit like job for you.
Yeah,
Like, whatever your skills may be, like it's not the right fit.
Yeah, I don't think it's always a solution that you can just, if you work hard, you'll get it. You have to understand the person and understand yourself to know if you can use that route as a solution. The guy that did construction, he can work as hard as he wanted to work. What we were specifically doing, he was not going to be good at. As far as the other thing, what did he say? He wanted people to, what did he say? He wanted people,
he seemed like
they felt like he was unmotivated.
a slacker.
Yeah.
People
Okay.
saw him as.
So again, I've got that at every job that I've worked at.
That you're unmotivated? Is that true?
For like 90% of my jobs, yeah, it was true. But I still worked. It's just I didn't show the enthusiasm that everybody else displayed. I think as long as you show enthusiasm with the customer, that's fine. If I'm not in a position of authority, if I'm a worker bee, I don't think it's my job. I don't get paid to show enthusiasm. I get paid to do my job. Now, if I was a manager, like I was when I worked at
pork chop sandwiches,
that's a little different. I came in every day. Hey, y'all ready to knock everything out? It's a good day. I mean, I was bullshitting, but that's what I'm supposed to do. I have to encourage my worker bees. If I'm a worker
That's your
bee,
job, yeah.
I don't have to encourage you. I'm not getting paid.
If you're a manager, you're supposed to encourage people because it makes life better. If you're encouraging people, they're going to work better. Everything's going to be better, right?
Ideally, it's going to help us smooth
If you're
process.
a worker bee and you're positive and you're, energetic and then that's also going to affect everybody else similarly, isn't it?
Yeah, I think potentially, but I think what you're getting at is morality, and what I'm getting at is I don't get paid extra to fucking motivate the person working next to me.
I'm saying, effects wise, if you would do it as a manager, like you're saying, you're getting paid more as a manager, so it's more your responsibility.
I agree with what you're saying. The only thing I'm saying is that as a manager, it's your job. As a worker bee, it's not. It's just kindness.
I just feel bad,
and that's not something
because all these managers are helping, like trying to, build up spirits, and all the worker bees are like, yeah, that stuff's for the birds.
Well, I mean, the thing about the manager is that I know my worker bees, the work that they're doing and the pay that they're getting is not justifiable. You know what I mean? So there's a big dichotomy to it. I don't want to sound humdrum. Like, the thing about if you don't have any mental impairments and you really want to make the effort to improve, you can. The thing that's very difficult is that a lot of times in the US, there are not things in place to help you improve if you are working in an entry-level job like sales. So you will have to come in. I almost feel like when I struggled with certain things, like the fucking registers.
Yeah, they don't train you, of course.
I had to come in on my own time. I wasn't getting paid. And the only reason I had to do it is because they kept sticking me at the store by myself and screaming at me when I would mess up everything. So I had to come in and work for free because I didn't get that proper training that I needed. And I couldn't get it because they didn't have the proper hours that they needed. And the district manager was just doling out task after task after task when we didn't have the staff for it. So we never had the funding to do anything. So it was like the whole work process was just like screwed up from the get-go. So you can improve at that stuff if there's nothing mentally holding you back. It's just you have to really, really want it. Or you have to hope that you have a coworker that's willing to like take the time. Maybe there's some coworkers that's like super fast at their job, super amazing. And maybe they'll be like, okay, well, I'm done. I'm taking my break. And maybe someone will be like, I'll help you out. Those people exist too. So there are a lot of things to it. I don't know why I'm giving advice to a fictional anime
heroes, because this advice, just like you said, you were watching, if you can watch the show and you believed that a lot of the advice could help people in their real lives.
Yeah.
So you're doing,
That's it. Do your best. If you work at the supermarket, do your best. If you don't have dreams of moving up the chain of command, do your best and understand that if your best isn't the best, then that's a stepping stone. The only time it's not a stepping stone is if you want to move up within that chain of command. If you do, that's great. If you don't, understand that there are plenty more opportunities. It's an entry-level job. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah, I would say that my advice would be very similar. Like, just examine your skills and see where you need to practice. And then, it's not the end of the world. Like, just keep going. If you still can't get it, you're in the wrong job.
Do we want to actually talk about the anime now? Like, I feel like we've spent
a
good amount of time kind of like warming up. I'm not persecuting anybody here. So let's actually talk about how we felt about it.
So I'd like to talk about episode 5 opens up with a butt shot in the shower, which I thought seemed bold because there's a lot of suggestive stuff, where somebody will, they'll fall on each other or whatever, or there'll be somebody who's like undressing but there's something in front of them so you don't actually see anything.
Mm-hmm.
So when I saw the butt, I was like, oh, that's nudity, right?
I don't remember this scene at all, strangely.
Well, I wrote it in my notes, but
it happens.
So what I wanted to talk about was the idea of fan service, because the thing about sometimes I'll be watching something and I'll think like, oh, this scene here, this is for people who just want to, get certain feelings, right? That just sexual fantasy type feelings, right?
Certain feelings. If you like fan service, this is the anime for you.
I'm not used to talking about this, but and so sometimes I'll watch it and I'll be like, okay, so there's a story in this anime, and once I get past this scene, I can continue learning what the story is, right? Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I also realized in this show, like there were certain really stupid jokes that I laughed at, usually from Ikumi, right? And so I started thinking about the fan service and how, like, if I think of it like a stupid joke, I should still be able to, like, why is it harder to enjoy the fan service in the context of like trying to learn about these characters and everything versus, I don't know, why is it hard? Why is it easier to laugh at stupid jokes?
I'll tell you want to know?
And not laugh at these.
I'll tell you exactly why.
Yeah, why?
Do you watch a porn for the story?
Man, what are you talking about? What are you talking about, man?
Well,
that's why.
Yes, his first answer was yes.
I was gonna say yes, but I feel like you're saying that that's the wrong thing to do.
She's asking you the question.
Because what I've noticed.
Yes or no?
Well,
because if you go in watching a porn for the story, you might find it distracting.
Well, no, here's what I'm going to say.
Yes or no, and then you.
Here's what I've noticed, right? Because I'll watch porn sometimes.
Oh my God! Yes or no?
Yes. Well, sometimes yes, sometimes no. Here's what I'll say.
Okay.
Right. If you watch porn, sometimes I'll be watching porn, and sometimes I'll get a hint that there's something here. There's some backstory, right? And it'll be exciting until I realize, like, oh no, that's nothing. Versus sometimes I'll get excited because I'm just watching a movie that doesn't actually.
Hope so. You just sit up there and watch it. I'm sorry. I'm not going to mute myself because I'm immature.
Listen. So sometimes I'll be watching a movie that's not even a porn, right? And there doesn't even have to be nudity, but the suggestive like backstories between these characters and their relationship and stuff and the words that they say can be more exciting than, well, maybe not more exciting, but can be just as exciting as, just these physical, like the butt shots and stuff, right? And sometimes I'm so disappointed, I'll go to porn and I'll be like, well, this is, those people, that's a big butt or whatever. But it'd be so much better if I had that backstory from the movies. Like if I could put a movie with porn, if it was a good story, and it would make the porn better. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, it would. And then it would be for women. And they don't make porn for women.
Well, no. See, they have websites. They have websites that are like, oh, this is a good porn where, it's not like women aren't being exploited, and this is for both men and women, and you can enjoy it equally, and blah, blah. And I've been to those websites, and they're boring.
Why y'all trying to get this episode taken down?
I'm sorry. Okay. No. Okay.
Every time I upload, they ask me, is this for kids? Then they ask, can kids watch this?
Okay. Let me go back.
No.
Because I'm going to say, because there is a certain level of stuff in this show that is, I shouldn't have to be more kiddie than the show is, right?
No.
So there is a butt shot, right? In addition to all these other things, references to stripping and sleeping in the nude and, Oh, another question I had. I should ask the first question first, probably. But like, why is it so hard? And I think the answer for me would be, why is it so hard to enjoy? Why do my brain separate like the fan service from the regular show? And I think it's because I feel like I'm being pandered to in a way that like a movie will show something, some science fiction movie, and then they'll start to explain the stuff that you already know. Like I already understand how this magic ring and Lord of the Rings work. You don't have to explain it again. But if there's fan service, I feel like you're treating me like I'm a really stupid viewer. I think that's why it takes me out. But at the same time, the what should be the saving grace for this is our main character, who is kind of perverted, right? Yeah. And so it should be easier to be like, oh, I don't have to be a pervert watching this. I'm just excited to see what his life is like and how his ups and downs and if he's ever successful and what he's trying to do. So it should have, theoretically, in most cases, that would make it easier to get into, all the stuff that they're showing you. Because you can watch a movie about a serial killer, like Dexter, right?
Yeah.
You can watch Dexter and not be like, I want to be a serial killer. But you can root for Dexter because it's like, oh, it's his life. I like Dexter as a person, so I can get into all the blood and gore that he's getting into, right? I loved Hannibal, right? The TV show. Mm-hmm. So why can't I just see this character, Akimatsu, and be like, oh, and maybe it's because I don't. So I'm curious, as a person, what do you think of this main character? Like, we've talked about how he doesn't have personality much, but in terms of his pervertedness, because he almost does struggle with it in the show. Right?
Yeah, I don't think he's that bad, honestly. I just think he's like kind of like a normal, like really hyped up like teenage boy. Like I don't think he's that abnormal or anything like that. He just has sex on the brain like a lot, like most teenage boys do, and I think that he doesn't hide it really, or he doesn't hide it well, should I say?
I have a new theory. Just now, I thought when you were talking, I was thinking, because yes, he is like a teenage boy. Teenage boys are allowed to think about sex, right?
Yeah, it's
but the idea,
normal.
But the way that the girls act in the show almost seemed like if it was one of those movies where all this crazy stuff happens and then you cut back to him and it was all in his head and that's what he was imagining and it's like, oh, I gotta back to the real world. That would have been better.
Yeah,
because
it's a good point, actually.
Because the way the girl, it seems like he wrote the story.
Yes,
like he's recounting his journal and he just goes off topic while he's writing about these memories as if he wanted the girl to strip and he didn't see anything, so he's still in the clear, but he would have if he had turned around. Like just fan fiction of his own life he's writing.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, MadKat. I really like that you brought that up because it's if that were the case, it would totally make sense for this anime. Like it would at least make sense to us. Like then all the fan service would be like, oh, okay, well, yeah, of course, it's in this teenage boy's mind, so of course that makes sense. That like,
but it seems
they're
harder
all like
to get into.
Kind of the girls are kind of perverse. Like they're always trying to do fill each other up, which is not especially normal, honestly. That's not I'm not gonna say it doesn't happen, but it's not to the extent of what this anime portrays it to be. That's not the same.
I don't even think it's the extent. It's like one of those movies that doesn't have a very good plot in that it doesn't make any sense to get there. Like I can imagine it getting there and making sense, but here, like there was a scene where they were like, "Did you strip to get that?" And she's like, "No, I didn't." And she's like, "I'll prove to you that I didn't strip by stripping now." And I'm like,
"Yeah,
what? That doesn't make any sense."
Yeah,
but
no,
it's the kind of thing that a horny like teenage boy wouldn't argue with,
Yeah, exactly.
In the moment. So I think maybe this show, like, because I had trouble getting into, when the fan service was happening, I was like, oh man, this is so stupid. So do you think the fan service here, in comparatively to how easy it is to get into fan service in other anime, how do you think this was better, worse?
I think I just don't normally watch a lot of shows that like anime that has fan service. So like it's not like that doesn't exist. It's just that I feel like I think I haven't seen it in a while, so I'm just like, like a lot of eye roll moments for me. It's just, as a girl, I'm just like, oh, okay, all right, anime. I just take a deep breath and I'm like, all right, anime. That's just anime being anime. And particular genre that I just didn't know I was watching. But there are some moments where I'm like, oh, okay, all right, this is just gratuitous at this point. Like with the part where she's like in the shrine maiden's uniform and it's like all slashed and revealing.
Right.
And now they're pouring slime on her. I'm like, guys.
Actually, I did kind of think that was funny, and here's why. Because that was, if I remember correctly, inspired a lot by because they were trying to make a video to get people interested, right? And so I liked the idea that she, like this director, was it Ukumi who was like pushing a lot of the stuff? Am I remembering?
Ikumi was the one in the outfit.
Okay, see, that's kind of weird because I'm imagining and I'm remembering it kind of differently, and I guess maybe my brain rewrote it to make more sense. Because she seems like the type of person who would push like that further because she's like, oh, this is what people are gonna.
Right, you're right.
Yeah, and other people would be like, oh no, this is too much. And she'd be like, no, we can go a little further,
Yeah,
and
I forget who was directing that. But Ikumi was the one in the
right,
outfit.
I remember the pink now, which is weird. Who was it?
Yeah,
was it? It couldn't have been Fumi pushing for that, right?
No, it wasn't.
Well, it was the artist girl probably, right?
Oh yeah, it was probably her.
Because she came in and she like raised the level of pervertedness.
Yeah, which is also really strange. Yeah, so like that scene, and like there was another scene with like an eel, and I'm like, okay, all right.
Oh, in the contest?
This is unnecessary.
That's one thing. That's one thing I would like to talk about. Is that there's a weird
Eel.
right around the 9th, 10th episode, I think it was. They have this big contest where they're going up against not only the characters that this guy paid off or just invited to be like mirror image versions of them, but also he hired like this one monk, right?
Yeah.
Because he was so wise or whatever.
The best
right?
advice.
So it felt like the boss battle of the show. And I was like, but there's like 3 more episodes after this. This doesn't make any sense. And true to what I thought was going to happen, nothing after that seemed as epic. And maybe they were trying to subvert your expectations. Like, it's not about being epic. You were wrong to, be excited about that.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
But they went into, I felt like they set up a lot where, there's these sliding chairs and the one guy's having so much fun because he, set up all these traps for the women. He's like, no, that's not the right person to, I felt like it was a culmination of a lot of characters because they get up in the chairs and they're actually like, they surprisingly get stuff right because of their little quirks and ignorances and, like all the things that you thought. It kind of matches the song because the song at the end is like, everybody's different colors and, we have to accept everybody.
But they
each
have something to add.
Right. So you get their imperfections and they pull through with their imperfections. It's part of what makes them stronger, and then we just have to sit through this show for 3 more episodes. I didn't understand.
It didn't make sense to me either because I definitely thought this was going to cap off. I didn't even know there was 13 episodes for a while. I actually had to watch one more after I thought I was done. And I was like, it was definitely unnecessary. So I'm like,
yeah.
What happened?
Like, why don't just make 10 episodes? Is that so hard?
Yeah, I don't know. It was so yeah. That's my main thing. Like there was a lot of the fan service. I thought was a little over the top. I mean, very over the top. A little bit. I'm gonna be yeah. And let's be real, like, and say that it was very over the top.
Well, fan service wise, it was weird because you had the main character who's like, "Ooh, I wish I could look," right? And I guess you're kind of supposed to be rooting for him, like, "Oh, he's around all these cute girls," right? Maybe you're not supposed to be rooting for him to, see anything. But then you had the other guy on the rival team, right? Who was a super pervert, right? And he said he wasn't I'm no pervert, just a flamboyant fetishist, which I did. I thought that was an interesting line. But he's a bad guy, right? So whenever he's perverted, it's supposed to be like, oh, he's so disgusting, I think.
Yeah.
But it was kind of a breakneck thing where it's like, oh, this boy is in these situations, and that's why I'm watching the show, theoretically. But also this other guy, he wishes he was in those situations. And I just spit on him because he's a jerk, even though he doesn't get nearly as much of the, all the attention. And, I felt bad for that guy, kind of. And I feel bad that I felt bad for him, but
causing you to have some kind of personal crisis.
Because I feel like just as a sense of equality, if you're going to live in a world where all the girls are just dying to throw off their clothes, don't you feel bad for the one guy that like all the girls spit on him?
Yeah, no, they did. Absolutely they did. I felt bad for him in a way, but then I was like, no, he's creepy too. Like, they're all creepy. Like, frankly.
Oh, you said the main character wasn't that bad, right?
He just, I mean, no, he's still a creepy teenage boy. But,
I thought he was trying to be chivalrous, in a lot of scenes. Like, they had that thing, which has never happened to me, but where they were under the fortune teller table and, they're increasingly, and I felt like I didn't know if they're trying to tell you, oh, he's just so unlucky he gets, he's rubbing up on our boobs, or if he's like secret, like subconsciously or consciously, like rubbing up on our boobs because she can't do anything. Like, it's hard to say because the believability of the show is so kind of wibbly wobbly to say, like, could he try harder not to, or is just the physics of this world working so hard against him that he has to grab her boobs? I couldn't.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I couldn't help him.
Because they're seemingly like the most amount of space under this table as you could possibly ever have under a fortune. Because this is like, they shouldn't be able to move at all if they're actually going to keep. And that was one of the things that turned me off to the show, because I started watching it and the first 2 episodes, I was like, oh, this is building up to maybe something interesting. And you're going to start seeing consequences down the road. But there wasn't nearly enough consequences to some of their actions, I felt like. Because that like they were so loud. And that whole fortune teller like thing worked, didn't it?
I mean, I think so. I think they kind of like just glossed over it. But
like
yeah.
they were having a whole like little like makeout session and struggle away from a makeout session underneath there, and there was no consequences whatsoever.
No. Yeah, no, that like I mean, obviously you have to.
And she was clearly a terrible Yeah, fake fortune teller.
Clearly.
But-
I don't think that's like that's it's not the least believable thing.
Well, because if you're watching Friends, right, there's going to be a scene where they try to do some con or some lie, and it's like, oh, we can, get pizza from Domino's and make them think that we cooked it or whatever. But at the end of the show, the lie's going to come out, even though there's all this unrealistic stuff about them keeping it up. Eventually, it's going to come out, and here, like, there was never any coming out.
No, I think they did that with a few things. Like, like the Shotengai superhero. Like he was the kind of like the common writer of like stupid mascot of the shopping arcade. Yeah, which I kind of enjoyed that for some reason. I was just like, what is happening? Who is this guy? But then I thought it was kind of cute
amazing.
that Ikumi had that, like, kind of crush and like, that superhero moment when she was little and she like idolized him. And I'm like, that's so cute.
Yeah, she was cute.
Yeah, she's like, I believe in him.
For some reason, I rooted for him because even though it was this guy, because I remember, when I used to read Spider-Man comics, and the idea was that Peter Parker was this guy. He didn't really know how to talk to anybody, to his bullies, to girls, to anybody. He was, but then he put on that mask, and suddenly being anonymous gave him power. He was somebody else, and so he could crack jokes and he could be confident,
Right.
So I enjoyed that little, even though they don't really delve too much into it, I enjoyed how he became a different character. Nobody would guess it was him because he was so powerful and he was so quick-witted, and it was really like a different show. Like one of your commenters said, like, "Oh, what kind of genre is it? Is it slice of life? Is it this? Is it that?"
Yeah, we don't know. I would say, what genre would you put this in?
I don't feel qualified to say because my instinct says slice of life, but that's only because my perception of slice of life is it's not really about anything, and I feel like that might be offensive.
It just depends on which one it is. Obviously, I thought this was slice of life and like psychological, which is why I chose it.
But it's not really about life.
Yeah, it wasn't psychological, nor was it about life. I mean,
comedy.
It was kind of.
I want to say.
I would say hentai. I would say this is pretty close to. If you would like some slice of life with your hentai, this is.
Well, no. See, that's.
If you would like,
I disagree.
It's like not complete hentai, but it's absolute fan service most of the time with some slice of life thrown in there for good measure.
I disagree because
there's some good comedy moments.
Yeah, I laughed. But so he has this running like relationship with Reno, right? Will they, won't they kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of sweet in the fortune teller episode where she's saying something and she's like, "Oh, which is frustrating when I hear that kind of thing in real life. But she's like, "Oh, if I said something now, my crush would hear me," right? And he's like, "But I'm the only guy here."
Yeah.
And it's like sometimes people in real life, they'll say something and they're trying not to say something. But the way that they say it is like, "Oh, well, you just answered the question."
Like you meaning they were not deceptive enough.
Yeah. And well, that they didn't even realize that they gave up the secret. Like is frustrating to me.
Okay.
But that was like, was that the third episode?
Which one? The fortune teller?
When she's like, "Oh, if I say something," because I think you don't hear exactly what she said in the fortune teller episode.
Yeah,
you hear it later.
I don't know where that was.
Because it was either the third or the fourth. I'm gonna guess, which means you still had like 9 episodes left until, unless I'm wrong, nothing happens between them. Is that right?
Yeah, no, nothing happens. Yeah.
So
like
that would
at
be
the end. They're like, "Oh, I think they like each other." Yeah,
like if I came to this show looking for hentai, I would be frustrated. I didn't come to this show looking for hentai, and I was still frustrated.
Yeah, it's primarily just lots of suggestive fan service.
Well, sometimes you'll have a show, and he's not going to be with anybody, so you can have like suggestive relationships pop up between all of the other characters. Like one of those dating games, right? Sims, right? But they established early on that like Reno was the girl for him, and so I felt like none of the other like fan service stuff was ever gonna, like, it didn't mean anything. It was never gonna go anywhere. So like, why should I care? Kind of thing. I feel like if they wanted you to get excited about him and these other girls, I feel like they shot themselves in the foot by making this like a romantic, like monogamous journey that never went anywhere.
Well, the thing that is though, like, so he like there's so much fan service, and he's like I think there's moments where he kind of tries to be like, oh, I shouldn't, but like we're still hearing his thoughts, like, oh, I kind of want to.
He's conflicted.
Yeah, he's not that conflicted, but he's
He's not that
slightly
conflicted.
he slightly feels guilty about it because he knows that his maybe future girlfriend Reno is watching.
Oh yeah, I forgot that was in the that was the thing in the sleepover. He's like, oh, she's here. Yeah, that's damning. Because that shouldn't be your motivation.
I think if she wasn't there, I don't think he would. I'm like, yeah, no, let me see her boobs. I don't think he would care. Absolutely not.
I mean,
but it's fine.
Yeah. I mean, if a girl wants to show him her boobs, like, is he in the wrong for looking?
I mean, no. I mean, obviously, if it's consensual, clearly not. But obviously, if the girl that you like sees that, she's not gonna like you anymore. Yeah. It's like, oh, clearly you like somebody else more than me. It's gonna come down to that. Just a little life lesson there, guys, in case we have any middle schoolers.
Oh, so you can learn real life lessons from this show.
Yeah, maybe you can. Maybe you can. No, I thought there were some funny moments in this show. Like this did have a few moments where I was like, okay, this is funny. To me, it's funny. Like they're just offbeat dialogue, or it just caught me off guard. Like it's just strange.
Oh,
like one of the things was like compliments. Like you should compliment people, and then Kumi's like, oh, it starts off good, and she's like, overcoming weakness is only possible through practice. Get a punching bag and compliment it frequently. I'm like, what?
Yeah, I did like they were playing the game where they had to start with the last letter. The first letter they had to use was the last letter the last person had to use, and so they kept manipulating the game. I thought that was actually brilliant. I had a lot of fun with like, oh, why are we doing all these Lees or Ds, and clearly because they were trying to they weren't talking anymore. They weren't having a conversation. They were just playing the game, as if it was like chess. And I loved that. And also there was I liked the tension when they had to go to like the big three, depressing three characters. And one of them was the girl that was like afraid of the train station line and, was new to Tokyo. And and she's asking the question and you couldn't understand her because of her accent. And so she's like, oh, what do you think? Right? And he's like, oh, crap. I have to say, of course, or not. And I was thinking in my head, if I'm in that situation, like trying to do math, like what are the odds she's saying so, like people that are, you're trying to be positive towards her. So of course is usually the kind of thing she might want to hear. But at the same time, she's a depressing person. So a depressing person would lay out questions and answers that would be leaning towards negative. Right. So I was like, is there a way to game this system? That was fun, even though, it was simple.
Yeah, no, that, of course, was a pretty good. I think you could get away with that no matter what. Like, oh, don't you think it was terrible? Yeah, of course. Or like, don't you think I shouldn't have done that? Yeah, of course. Like, you should not have.
But what if it's like, what if it's like, oh, I'm such an idiot, aren't I? You're not supposed to be like, of course. And that's the kind of thing she might say because she was so down in the dumps.
I think. I'd be like, of course. And she'd be like, what? I'm like, you're nuts. Of course you're nuts. You can play with it. You can play with it.
Yeah. You gotta be quick.
Yeah, as long as you catch the next few words, it might be okay. Because like her reaction will tell you what you should have said.
Wow. Okay. So this isn't too relevant to the show, but I just realized in my notes that wherever I wrote Reno, it autocorrected to ring. So I keep reading ring, and I'm like, I don't remember this ring.
That's great. I wonder, you know what part I actually did like when they were, I loved it took me back to when I did this, occasionally with my friends in high school, where they were seeing, who was it? The guy from, the shopping area that was the hero, and Ikumi was like talking to him, but like her friends didn't know what they were saying, and I think Fumi was like, they are lovers and, they're going to run away together.
Yeah, I liked that. That was cute.
That was cute, I thought.
Reminiscent.
And they're like, stop narrating this. And she's like, no. And she just keeps going. I thought that
There's a scene in The Italian Job with Jason Statham and a little guy. I can't remember his name. And Jason Statham is like the sexy car driver guy. And he goes up to get this information from this lady who works for somebody they have to steal from, and he's trying to get right. So he's seducing her, and so he goes up to talk to her, and here's the hacker guy talking to somebody, or the hacker guy is like watching from the car from the other side of the parking lot, and you're watching Jason Statham like seduce this lady, but he can't hear, so he's voicing Jason Statham and the lady. And I liked that scene so much. I've always wanted to see more scenes like that. You know, I feel like I don't see. And so when I saw it in this show, I was like, oh my God, they're doing the Jason Statham thing. I get to see it again.
Yeah, it's funny that you like labeled it as such. Yeah, I think it's fun to imagine what people might say in these certain circumstance, just like by their body, body.
And just like I was saying before, like so much of the show would make so much more sense if you saw it through the eyes of somebody fantasizing, you know?
Yeah.
So I could enjoy the comedy in that scene without having to be like, why are the people acting like this? You know?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so that's a good thing you brought that up because I had forgotten about that, but I did really like that scene.
Yeah, I like that. I thought there were some moments where I definitely enjoyed and I thought were cute and I laughed. I liked the stuff about when that guy was super depressed, and he's like, what'd you do today? And he's like, I just stared at the wall all day, and they're like, that's cool, I love walls.
Yeah.
Like, walls are great.
I've been in that situation where it's like,
what's the wall doing today?
Yeah, how do you say something positive?
I would say.
And
yeah, that's definitely something I would say.
Love it. If I was like in a bad mood and somebody's like, how's the wall doing today? I would be like, man, you great job.
Yeah, that's cute. That's funny. So there were some moments where I was like,
yeah, I thought they were likable. The three main girls were likable. It's just a lot of the show didn't make sense in like a real life context.
Yeah, not even in anime context. It didn't make a whole lot of sense. So if you're looking for a plot, this is not the anime.
And if you want to see just like
maybe give Science Gate a go.
If you want to see like just cute, funny girls, there's so many other places you can go, right?
Yeah, but if you love fan service and a little slice of life, this is your anime. Yep. But Kip, what do you have to say? What do you think?
What's up, big dog?
Do you have any recommendations of who should see this anime?
I think a lot of people would like this, to be honest. So the genre is definitely slice of life comedy. I would personally add light ecchi to it. It's not hentai. It would be light ecchi. Right. As far as like the ecchi aspects, I just don't agree with the overt sexualization of minors. Unfortunately, I want to say since like early 2000s, it's been growing. Honestly, like this is one of the things where I personally would consider a decline in anime. This was one of the main reasons. The anime did do stuff that was funny, but honestly, watching this, I felt that this would have benefited from a different format entirely. This should have been a short. Each episode should have been 5 to 10 minutes. They could have just went the Pop Team epic route and had like 7 or 10 minute episodes, and it would have probably been a lot easier for me to consume. But I realized that this simply isn't something for me because I would have removed all of the ecchi aspects and only kept the comedy aspects that were funny. This type of anime is very popular. This anime is like 8 years old, but there are like thousands of anime like this. I would say that if you've seen Hyako, you might like this, but I don't remember Hyako having ecchi elements. This anime seems geared more towards the people that are into ecchi, but then again, if you're into ecchi, you might find this a bit lacking. So Hyako, Baka to Test Shoujanku would be another anime that is similar to this, except Baka to Test is very, very, very light on the ecchi. It's only a couple sexual jokes, and it's typically with just one character, and it's very tame.
It's false.
But I wholeheartedly think that Bakuchi Test is a very enjoyable anime for the most part when paired with this. If you're just into like school setting, slice of life with comedic elements, I wouldn't say comedy as a genre. I would just say comedy elements. You also like a drama and romance, then Toradora is another good route that you could take.
I would second that.
The issue with this anime is that, I mean, it's a lot of issues, but I'm not trying to like beat it down. But how do I want to say this? It's a collection of loose ideas. This is why I say it would benefit from a 5-minute episode. Each episode is a 5 minute short. There's a lot of ideas, loose ideas, and the transitions are not good. So it just doesn't flow. A lot of those ideas just get lost because they spend so much time on transitions that don't really amount to anything and don't sustain my attention. And it's just a problem that persisted throughout. It's a very repetitive format as well, which is another reason why it could have benefited from 5 minutes. But when you have 30 minutes of the same thing over and over and over and over with the same type of sexual jokes over and over and over and over, the characters themselves are archetypes. All characters are archetypes, obviously, but they don't go beyond that in any way, shape, or form.
They're very simple. But some people take comfort in that.
No, I do believe like most anime fans today will like this show. I think I'm the odd man out on this one. There's a large overuse of the score. I honestly don't think that there's 30 seconds of silence in this show.
No.
I think after every 15 seconds, another song starts playing, and it's an over-reliance on the score because you don't have a lot going on, or you don't have a confidence in what you have going on. It's like when you watch this is a different culture, but if you like watch a Thai YouTube video or a Chinese YouTube video, and it's like a wacky skit, there's going to be sound effects on every single clip. There's going to be like some wacky sound effect for something. And I believe it's an overindulgence, and it kind of takes the focus away on whatever you're trying to get the viewer to pay attention to. There really are funny moments. It's just not enough for 13 episodes. But honestly, I'm not trying to dissuade people. If you have been watching anime and you watch the first episode, everything that's in that first episode is going to dive into that even more. So if you don't like that, then you can stop watching. But if you do like that, then you're going to enjoy it. Like I said, I do think this is for people that have a shit ton of cutesy girl anime figurines.
That's a good call.
And you got your body pillows. Am I stereotyping? Yes. Yeah, I sure as hell am. And I'm not against anime figurines because I wanted one for Tongari no Boshi, but I got outbid by some Australian dude. I was pretty pissed. But if you have like a shit ton of anime cutesy girl figurines, if you have anime cutesy girl body pillows,
do you think that's a barrier to relationships with real girls?
Body pillows or anime?
I think that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother analysis podcast. I have opinions, but
I would say
Oh my God!
I am a real girl, so I would say anime, no. Body pillows, probably.
No, I was going to say, like, body pillows wise. Is it like if you have one out when a girl is over, that's a problem? Or do you think it's a problem just having one in general?
No, I don't. In general, no, but it kind of tells me that you don't have real girlfriends. Or that they don't measure up in some way to your fantasy life.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. I had a sense of something like that. Because to me, if I saw a guy, I walked in his room and he had like a body pillow, I'd be like, oh, this signifies loneliness. But there's nothing wrong with loneliness. But if it's loneliness because he's like, he wants a fictional girl, you know, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, it would be like the same thing if you saw a girl have like, you know, a life-size
Jason Statham
movie action hero in her bed. Like it's a little
cardboard
weird.
cutout.
It's a little weird. You might be concerned. You would at least ask.
Yes, I would ask.
You know, like it's a little weird. It is. It's a little weird. I'm like,
So I think having a body pillow or whatever is going to kind of lead to stereotypes and, you know, cognitive bias, but I don't think it's a surefire thing to be like, oh, this is what I think about you, and now that you have this actually confirms it without actually getting to know the person. The reason why I say this is because I've seen couples walking around with body pillows and they had no problem socializing or anything.
You said these were like middle schoolers, right? Not high schoolers? Is that what you said, Stardust?
They're high schoolers.
They're high schoolers.
High schoolers. Okay. Because I just saw Turning Red, right? The movie.
Oh, okay.
And there's the thing about how whenever you see girls like that in movies, and you know sometimes boys like that, they'll have this fantasy like these pop stars or whatever, and then there's a slow transition to you know, the boy at their school who's like, oh, he doesn't look as hot or as sexy as these, he can't sing like these pop stars. But, you know, there's a growing up almost of transitioning that seems so ubiquitous when you're watching when I'm watching those kind of shows. It seems like a natural, like you have fantasies and then you hone in on something more realistic.
Yeah, for sure.
Like a natural journey.
Absolutely. Like if I saw it in like a teenage girl or a teenage boy, I'd be like, oh, okay. You know, it's like having like posters of boy bands on your wall when you're a teenage girl. Like it's totally normal. A lot of people do that.
But you think it's something you should grow out of?
Should is a very strong word. I think it's something people normally grow out of, you know, and if they didn't, I would have to question why. And it's not like it'd be like an automatic deal breaker. Like that wouldn't be the thing where like, I can't date you. I don't know why, you know. I would be suspicious because that might signal some developmental, you know, issues.
Wow.
But I wouldn't automatically, you know, just discount someone. Like maybe they're working through something, you know, maybe that pillow is the only thing that reminds them of the time when they were a kid and their mom was alive. Like, I don't know. You know, like benefit of the doubt, obviously. I would find out.
Yeah, everybody's different. Because like Kip said, like all these characters in this show are very one note, you know?
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine like if that's the kind of girl you want, finding somebody, you know?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I would imagine there's a level where, or a series of levels where certain characters are more like real people, and so to idolize them would be maybe more healthy.
Yeah.
I was just curious. I agree with what you said about how these characters are very simple. They don't really evolve, and they don't really have any like a lot of layers to them.
It's true, they did not.
I want to be clear. I said that because I'm not interested in it. But
Well, no,
I'm not saying it as criticism because to me, Jinsei is very clear that it doesn't try to do that.
Right.
That's why I'm not saying it in a negative way.
I know
Jinsei is very clear what it sets out to be.
I know I can enjoy one-note characters. I have in the past. And also what you said it should be short. I could imagine it as a like YouTube channel where, they used to have the show Ask a Ninja, right? And I could imagine every episode or whatever of the YouTube show, there, you see the title card with all these words about somebody has a problem, and then you get to go around and see all their different cards of them showing up their ideas, and then they laugh about it for a while, but you would never necessarily have to go out of that room where they're just arguing about what to do, and I could see that being a show where most of the comedy in the show you could get without a lot of the, trying to build up to these epic things and action set pieces and competitions. You don't need all that. It's kind of wasting your energy because people aren't really there for that. Mm-hmm. Maybe somebody could, re-edit this show to down.
Are you saying for your enjoyment or just for?
No, I know what you're saying about how a lot of people
that most people would really like the show.
But don't you think like you could get what people like about this show into a smaller package?
I think the people that like the show is perfectly fine with what it is, and they don't want a smaller package. That smaller package would be so I would be able to consume it and not struggle consuming it. But to be honest, even if it was in a smaller package, it would be better, but it still would be something that I wouldn't care to see. Another anime I do want to bring up that's also slice of life comedy is The Devil is a Part-Timer.
Is that actually...
what's up?
Is that actually about the devil?
Yeah, that's good actually.
The devil is a character, just put it that way. Another good thing is that the cue cards, the artistry within the cue cards themselves is varied each time, and it's actually thoughtful to what's going on. So I thought that was a rare moment of artistic freedom and cohesiveness. On the downside of artistry is that the characters seem to have like some gradient highlight stroke effect on their hair, and I don't know why. It does not look good. I don't know. I mean, it's an artistic choice, clearly. I guess I just don't agree with it.
No, you're right.
I already talked about, I'm not going to support the sexualization of minors, and that's what the show does heavily. But as far as fan service in general, I don't care for fan service. Some of my favorite animes use fan service. It's just not as prevalent, or maybe the story is more there. Like Cowboy Bebop definitely has fan service. Ghost in the Shell, every time they used it with Motoko and Standalone Complex, it was like so unnecessary to me. As far as nudity in general, I'm not against nudity. I'm totally for nudity as long as it is incorporated to where it's actually meaningful within the story. I just feel like 95% of the time that's not the case. I think French cinema typically uses it the best. Blue is the Warmest Color is one of my favorite films, and that movie's all kinds of nudity. It's very integral to the character, and you really understand what she goes through. So it feels impactful. With Jinsei, it knows what it is. Everybody that watches this, you know what it is. If you watch anime, you know what it is.
Yeah, they'll know.
There was some other things that I thought was pretty cool. They give a nod to D4 Princess, which is a really old anime. There's a scene in this show where one of the characters, I don't remember which one, they have like a drill head.
Yeah, I was wondering what was going on with that. I'm like, what am I watching?
Yeah, there's another nod later in the series to Pikmin, which is a Nintendo game. And in that same episode, or the episode that follows, it's a nod to Sailor Moon. But I don't really feel like the Sailor Moon
Wait, where? Which part?
Yeah, they used the Sailor Moon sound effect, and then she does like a pose while the background is like this scrolling animation.
Oh, I missed it somehow.
But honestly, like every anime has a nod to Sailor Moon.
Yeah, pretty much. As they should.
Can I ask for you to re-say what you said earlier about something about when there's nudity and stuff in shows, you want it to be incorporated into the story? Did you say that, or?
It needs to have meaning. It needs to have importance. And a lot of time when I see nudity in any form of media, all the things that it's there for just seem like the low-hanging fruit. Like American Horror Story might have nudity or like some sort of suggestive graphic image just for shock value. And I mean, the first time it was fine, but each season seems to lose a bit of substance, and it's like, let's just see how shocking we can be. A lot of American films just get like a hot girl and have her show her boobs, and it's like not necessary. That's why I think French cinema is more realistic with its nudity. They'll show the male as much as they show the female. If you were to watch American films, you would think that guys have sex in a suit of armor.
Yeah, like you hardly ever see anything.
Obviously, the ecchi genre itself is the low-hanging fruit. So I'm not putting that as a criticism of Jinsei. What I am criticizing of Jinsei is the sexualization of minors. And for anyone that wants to be like, oh, well, you know, in Japan...
in Japan,
you can be 14 and blah, 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 and you shouldn't put your culture on another country's culture. Like, I agree that you should not put the way your culture thinks on another country's being, but some things is just about morality. So no, I'm not going to accept that in that regard. And that's not a hill that I'm going to die on. I'm just going to stand on that hill and kill everybody else tries to come on top of it.
All right.
It's an interesting distinction you made between like, oh, American movies do this, French movies do this, Japanese do this. Because in Jinsei, obviously you were talking about ecchi, and I'm not super familiar with the term, but I think
you are now. You just watched a light ecchi.
Well, yeah, I feel like now I can, context clues. I can kind of say what it is. And so if I'm looking at American, because I think the distinction between you and me, if I'm correct, which is why I had you reiterate it, is that I'll see like gratuitous, like sexy shots in movies, in American movies. And most of them don't bother me so much because for a while it was like, oh, every, superhero movie, you're going to have like a shower scene, because like you need to get that, that male actor star with
I just want to be clear, I'm talking about nudity, right? So when you say shower scene, are you talking about showing a guy's chest? Because in the US, that's not seen as nudity. Or are you talking about like a full...
I know what you're saying, but here's what I'm saying. The thing about shower scenes is that, yes, most of them, especially guys, they're not full nudity. But to me, a shower scene, theoretically, like I was just watching Jack Reacher, and you do see more of the girl than the man when they're in both in the shower, right? Yeah. But the thing that I see about that, and that can be bad. Like sometimes I'll see the sheets, like on the bed, and she's and this is kind of the opposite way where you see less of the girl, but the sheets are like over her boobs and then they come down so you can see the chest of the man, like stuff like that that's planted. You can tell like clearly that's not real life, kind of takes me out. But if it's the kind of thing that like everybody takes showers, right? So seeing somebody naked, even though we don't have to see it, the camera man doesn't have to go there, but people get naked sometimes, is easier for me to take than Jinsei, where these characters, I'm looking at these characters and it's like, this character wouldn't do that, or I don't know, personally, but if they wouldn't do that action normally as a normal human being, it's harder for me rather than to say like, oh, here's a character, now we're just going to show them naked for some reason, but they would have been naked, they had to change or something.
Like if they're in a hot spring and, like that makes sense. Like they're with, like if they're a bath,
right,
whatever.
Now I will say Megan Fox.
The thing about the ecchi, just really quick, the thing about the ecchi genre is if you're trying to apply, this is not me trying to even be funny. If you're trying to apply logic to these scenes in ecchi, you should stop. Impossible. Because that's what ecchi is. It's sexual. It's immediate sexual gratification. That's solely what it is. High School of the Dead is another ecchi. And I remember my friends was like, oh, dude, it's so good. Like, yeah, it's got like some horny stuff, but like, bro, like it's so good. And I didn't realize it was an ecchi. And then as soon as I turned it on, I'm like, bro, this is ecchi. This girl just ran up the stairs and her boob physics just was all over the place.
Really? Oh my God.
I don't think that would even bother me as much because like she's not acting in a way that I know is contrary to her character. Like some people run,
But her boobs are.
Her boobs are.
They're doing unnatural things.
Boobs don't move like that. We went to the same school. We drew boobs for a year. I don't know. Like boobs don't move like that.
They're not like, running around like a remote control helicopter.
Yeah.
It's not a thing.
Like drones that are not operating well. I guess another way of saying it is when you're directing a film, a series of shots is a sequence, right? And every single shot that you make, in my opinion, should have a purpose. It's what separates Wes Anderson. You may not like his movies, but you can look at his movies and each frame has a purpose, right? Each frame could be a painting on its own, right? And I'm not against like a shower scene. Like it's just why you're doing it. Like, you might have the shower scene in a certain horror movie that's very integral to that horror movie. The iconic girl looking and she's like... right? There's a reason for it. Whereas in, I can't remember the Will Smith film, but he's in the shower and I remember it's this big thing because he showed, there's like this big thing where it's like, oh, he showed his butt. What did that have to do with the movie?
Well, here's the thing about iRobot, though. Here's the thing, and I almost missed it. I may have missed it the first time I saw it because he's in the shower. You get to see his butt, but also he's got like these weird scars in that movie because his part of his arm is cybernetic. So it's kind of like a foreshadowing. Now, I take back what I said before because I agree it does, even if it's not against, even if they would be doing this, why would you be showing this and lose the movement of the movie, right? The motion.
And I can turn my brain off sometimes, but it is ideally, I'm just saying ideally, it needs to have a purpose.
Yeah, but it's amazing that you would bring up iRobot because I felt like there was a purpose there. I just didn't see it the first time around because I was assuming like, oh, you just need him with his clothes off in this movie. It was contractually obligated. But actually, like, it would have helped me know the story later on because I would have been like, oh, what are those weird scars? And that's part of it.
I don't remember those weird scars.
Because you remember...
I really don't remember iRobot. I just remember that butt scene because it was so much.
Man, what are you talking about? What are you talking about, man?
Talk around. Will Smith showed his booty.
Yeah.
Right.
Nobody was talking about the cybernetic arm.
No. And to be honest, I don't remember the film, but I highly doubt he had any booty scars.
No, it was on his arm.
Okay, so they could have just showed his arm.
Just showed his arm. But I felt like it was playing me, like, oh, movie, you got me. I didn't look at his arm because I was looking at his butt. Good job.
Maybe. That could have been a thing. That's quite possible. I didn't mind it in Titanic. I don't like Titanic, the film, but that scene of nudity, it wasn't an issue because it showed like that whirlwind romance. I don't want to spoil the ending of Titanic. I'm going to hell.
Yep. I sure do.
Other countries do it too. Shut up. Well, yeah, I didn't care for Jinsei. There are plenty of lessons in Jinsei. They just come in the form of text on a cue card at the end. It's a nice cue card. It is. So there is life consulting and there is answers. It's just clearly not what's used to grab your attention.
You seem like such the king of the backhanded compliment. It's a nice cue card.
Well, yeah.
What'd you think of the show? Oh, the cue cards were exquisite.
Jinsei is bad to me, but in the broader scheme of things, Jinsei is kind of like Kirby's, the new Kirby game that came out. It was the first Kirby game I ever played, and I was just murdering every enemy, and I was like, what is the point of giving me all these cool new powers? And there's nothing to provide a challenge to me. After a while, at first I was like, man, this game sucks. And then after a while, I stopped playing, but I thought about it and I was like, hey, man, maybe something doesn't necessarily suck. Maybe it's just not for you.
Wise word.
Okay. I think Jinsei sucks, but I also think Jinsei is just not for me. And it's because of that edgy part. As a slice of life and a comedy, Jinsei sucks. As an edgy, it's just not for me. So I think it's for so many people, especially the anime fans of today. You have all these animes that are like, how to get a girl in a cave, blah, 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 blah. Like literally in the titles. It's literally in the title of the anime. Yeah. It's telling you directly what it's about.
I see those titles, and I think if that was like an American TV show or movie, there would be another layer. Like that's a trick, that title. And so I'm always curious, like, is there another layer?
To each his own.
I think you did good with your recommendations.
Yeah.
That's it. Jinsei Life Consulting. Anybody else have anything to say about Jinsei?
I would say about this show that, yes, I did laugh. If I had to count up how many times I laughed, I would say every other episode, maybe I had a little good laugh. The characters were good. I agree 100% that the characters never changed and the characters never had anything complex going on with them, which is really strange in the context of the main characters. Usually you'll have like a whole bunch of second-rate characters because whoever wrote it is trying to get to the heart of whoever you're telling the story about and their journey or whatever. But the main character never, I didn't feel, had a real story. And the romance, like he's going through this maybe his first actual romance, but that never goes anywhere. So if I'm looking at the show and I'm recommending it to somebody, I would say, hey, maybe you like watching shows with cutesy little girls. And that's fine. But I think there's a lot of probably other shows you could watch that if they're going to have a romance, the romance is actually going to go somewhere. Or if they're going to have like a climactic game show type big boss battle, they're going to put that at the end. or if they're going to have, little secrets to life that they're going to sprinkle into the show, that the secrets would be a little bit more heavy or wise, or at least seemingly so, than this. So yes, it was funny. If you're looking for jokes, I can't say no, don't watch this. Go look for the jokes in this show. I hope you enjoyed it. But if you're looking for almost anything else, I think there's like hundreds of thousands of anime out there, right? Yeah.
The best comedy ecchi that I think you probably could watch is Prison School. Stardust, anything that you would like to add?
I would just say don't take this anime seriously. If you go in knowing that, you're not expecting something deep like I was, unfortunately. But I also didn't mind because sometimes you just don't want something deep either. Sometimes you're really busy and you just want to throw something on, and maybe you have a friend come over and you're like, what are we watching? And you're like, I don't know, and you laugh about it, and then it's done. It's done and it's over, and you laughed and you had a good time, and that's it. And that's probably what this anime is, with a little bit of ecchi, obviously. So I'd probably recommend it for maybe if you're really into that. Otherwise, you might have a bit more eye rolls like I did. So just to let you know, but it's a good time, I think. It's lighthearted, it's fun. It doesn't try to be serious, so it knows what it is.
You think it's a good time, or you think it's good moments? I'm curious. I'm not even trying to
Yeah, there's good moments. The whole thing isn't great, obviously, but there are funny moments, and I think that's enough for the average anime viewer.
Okay. And you learn a lot. You can learn capital of Sri Lanka.
All right, you're done.
So you could just look that up right now and not have to watch the show.
Okay, well, that is it for episode 8 of Pragma Pod. We will see you next time for episode 9. Look forward to MadKat's pick. Adios.
Bye.
Ciao.
Oh, you guys are nuts. Come here, anime. Get over here.